Hey guys, 7th here. I've got a lot to cover, and I didn't really feel like doing the green screen. Oh, and before I forget, one of my viewers from the previous vid, the Don't Buy This Shit the Wii U vid, he expressed his love of Blaster Master because I had mentioned it as one of the games I'd like to see brought back this coming gen, and seemed shocked to discover that there was a sequel on the Sega Genesis and asked me to do a retro review. Well, I haven't done a retro review on it yet, but just to tide you over, here is Blaster Master 2. This is a mint copy, still has the little hanger on it and everything. One thing that kind of sucks about it is it doesn't show any actual gameplay pictures on the back of the box. It just shows a diagram of the vehicle. But you open it up, manual's in new condition, cartridges in new conditions. Not really all that rare of a title, but it's one that I'm proud to have. You don't see it. It's not rare, it's not worth a whole lot, but you don't see it too often, especially not in this condition. So I'm kind of happy about this one. Oh, and one more. This one has been sitting on my shelf for a while. I didn't pull this one out of storage, but me and Fat Gamer were actually talking on Skype the other day, and he mentioned his intense love for this game when he had it on Dreamcast, so I thought I'd show it to him. Here you go, Fat. Soul Fighters. There it is. Soul Fighters for the Dreamcast. Okay, so we're going to start with Microsoft. First one up is Rise, the game from Crytek. As many of you know, this game started in development as a Kinect-only title for the 360, and goddamn does it show. Graphics-wise, it's nice to look at, but gameplay-wise, it looks like absolute shit. Don't have any interest in playing it. Okay, then you had Sunset Overdrive from Insomniac. Not really excited for this one either. When they changed Overstrike to Fuse and got rid of the more stylistic approach, I said it was going to fail. It did fail. Now this game's going to be an Xbox exclusive when 90% of their fan base and their audience are Sony enthusiasts. I think they've shot themselves in the ass, and they basically took this because this was the only way that they'd have enough free capital to pay for the development of the game because Sony didn't want it. There is fun and enjoyment to be had in these kind of stylistic Pixar type graphics. Ratchet & Clank's a perfect example of that. But there are some games where it just doesn't seem to fit the feel of it. And what this feels like is kind of a Gotham Imposters mixed with Mirror's Edge, kind of online-only frag fest. Hell, it might not even be retail. It might be a downloadable-only title for all we know. The first thing that struck my mind when I was watching the preview trailer for it was looking at the size of the fucking feet on the lead character. I mean, those feet were fucking ginormous. It really reminded me of the huge fucking sneakers that some of the assholes in that really shitty How the Grinch Stole Christmas movie wore. But anyway, that was really the only thing that I drew from that, other than the fact that it'd probably suck. Forza 5 looked like a Forza game. There's not really much more I can say about it. What else can I really say? It's Forza 5. It's another Forza game. It is a Fraternity Dweller Dude Bro take on a racing simulator. Quantum Break, still haven't seen enough of it to be able to tell what the fuck it is. They said, now we're going to show live gameplay footage. It was a fucking cutscene. It might have been done in-engine, but it was a fucking cutscene. I don't mind being shown cutscenes or cutscene-only trailers, but don't tell me you're going to show me gameplay and then show me a fucking cutscene. I don't know if Microsoft and their partner developers had a quota for how many times they were going to lie to the public in their conference, but I'm sure that one actually put a notch in the win column because that was not gameplay, that was a fucking cutscene. Then they showed D4. It was on screen so briefly I barely even noticed it was there. Again, a game that didn't really show a hell of a whole lot. There's a lot of questions being asked about it. Now, I don't know if this is true because I haven't found anything online that specifies that it is. It could just be a coincidence, but it looks kind of like a mystery horror type game. And there was a series that started out on the PS1 and the Saturn called D. That was a point-and-click adventure style horror game, horror mystery type thing, like Clock Tower, you know, that kind of shit. And then it had a sequel on the Dreamcast called D2 that had actually added some real-time gameplay where you actually had a character that you could move around the screen, you had a sniper rifle, shit like that. And in between those, there was a game on the Saturn, and it might have been on It might have been on PS1 too. I want to say it was a Saturn exclusive, but I could be wrong. It's called Enemy Zero, which was also a horror point-and-click adventure type thing with a sci-fi feel and whatnot. And I'm wondering if D4 is another game in the series and they've just kind of skipped over D3 because they consider Enemy Zero a spiritual part of that series. And maybe they've gotten the rights to the D series and they've decided to resurrect it with this. I don't know if that's the case, but you know, it seems kind of coincidental. You had D, D2, now you've got D4, and they're all kind of more looking like horror style, story-based, adventure style gameplays. Maybe it will be, maybe it won't. Project Spark, it's so early in development they don't even have a name for it yet. It's obvious that they were going towards the Little Big Planet slash Mod Nation Racer style feel for this. Historically speaking, I don't know what kind of an audience on the Xbox One is going to be there for that game. I know 8th would love to get his hands on a game like that, but I feel this is a game that would have fit a lot better in the Sony roster, especially with the whole play, create, share thing. It just seems out of place on Xbox. I was kind of intrigued, but goddamn, that was so rehearsed. I have a hard time believing that it was actually a live demonstration. It felt like it was all pre-recorded and they were pretending to play it. Especially, hey dude, I'm gonna do this. Oh, I turned him into a rock mech. Yeah, it was so rehearsed. It was horrible. Absolutely horrible. Killer Instinct. Now, there was a lot of people that went nuts over this, and not in a good way, because they were saying that it was going to be a free-to-play game and it only came with one character and you had to buy all the others. This has turned out to not be true. You can actually buy a full retail version of the game that has the characters and then buy additional ones. What they thought was free-to-play is just the demo that comes with one character. That's what it is. They mistook the demo for the actual retail game. Does that mean it's going to be any good? No. That doesn't mean that. In fact, Rare is not even involved with this game at all. The game was developed by Double Helix. Now, if that name doesn't mean anything to you, there's good reason for that. They're the developers behind such massive, fantastic hits as Green Lantern for the 360 and PS3, Battleship for the 360 and PS3. So primarily, they're known for making shitty game ports from movies. You're going to get a Killer Instinct made by the guys who did Battleship, the first-person shooter. Can't wait for you guys to just really dig into that. Then you had Crimson Dragon. Now, what struck me as hilarious was to look at some of these other reviews that I've watched on YouTube from people that I know and converse with that have no clue what Crimson Dragon is or what its history is or whatnot. Well, it's true, Crimson Dragon did start out as a Kinect game, just like Rise, but it has not really had much of a graphical upgrade like Rise did. It still looks like a 360 game, and the previews that I've read from people that have played the demo at E3 say that it still controls like shit, even though there's no Kinect control to it anymore. And I find it interesting that a lot of these games that were supposed to be the hardcore games for Kinect, the stuff that they kept holding up to our face to say, see, Kinect has hardcore games, are having Kinect stripped from them in the Xbox One. It makes me wonder what kind of game experiences that you're going to have with Kinect on Xbox One, which reminds me, they also mentioned, while I'm at it, a new Kinect Sports for Xbox One. Yay. Essentially, it is a sequel to the Panzer Dragoon series. It's just Panzer Dragoon without the Sega license, because Sega still owns the rights to Panzer Dragoon. So Panzer Dragoon and Panzer Dragoon's Way on the Saturn, Panzer Dragoon Saga, which was the Saturn swan song. It's the most valuable game on the Saturn. It's worth over $350. It's a very rare title. I used to have two, now I have none, and I cry about it all the time. But but seriously, it was a very well-respected series. There was also an Xbox One Panzer Dragoon game, so it does have a multi-console history to it. And this is just one of the original developers of the game who no longer had the rights to it, so he just made one anyway and called it Crimson Dragon. So that's what it is. It's a shitty Panzer Dragoon game, apparently. Dead Rising 3. It looked interesting, but they took all the humor out of it, everything that made it fun for me. I guess because they decided that they just couldn't top what Saints Row did. I don't know. But now it has a more serious take, and for me that just kind of destroys the fun of it. Even if it comes out for PS4, which I suspect it eventually will. This feels like a timed exclusive to me. Even if it comes out for the PS4, I probably won't end up buying it till it hits the bargain bin below. So to show how much they support indie development, they show 2 games. One that's already been out on the 360, which was Minecraft, but it's out, and then you have this below. I couldn't really tell anything from the demo as far as what it is, other than the fact that it had teensy-tiny little characters to it. You're going to have to show me more before I'm interested in something like that. Then you had the Black Tusk trailer. That looked really interesting when it was called Siphon Filter. Then you have an all CGI trailer for Halo 5. Doesn't give you any kind of indication about what kind of advances it's going to have. It showed no in-game footage, so you have no idea how much better it's going to look than the from the previous games in the series, other than they said that it was going to be 60 frames per second. What they did not say, however, was what frame rate it ran at. Guess we'll find out in over a year, because it's not coming till probably November of 2014. As you guys know, I'm not a multiplayer-centric gamer. I play some multiplayer, but I'm not as into it as I was when I was younger. I'm more about story-driven stuff, or Twitch arcade play, retro-style games. I'm not that big into the deathmatch shit anymore, so the majority of the draw for that game has absolutely no appeal to me. In fact, it was described as being an online-only shooter, so it doesn't. If that's the case, then it doesn't even have a single-player campaign, and it's going to be something like, a generational leap from MAG, I guess, but with better graphics and what have you. To me, it looked like Call of Duty meets Mirror's Edge meets the mechs and the flying backpacks from Killzone 3. They just took bits and pieces from previous existing games and have cobbled them together into a very unoriginal looking mishmash. I'm sure it'll be a fun run and gun and run and camp shooter, but I could take it or leave it. I could never play that game once in my life, and I wouldn't give a rat's ass or feel the least bit of remorse about that fact. Thankfully, they didn't focus on the TV shit at all. They did focus on the whole share thing that Sony got started. They have partnered with Twitch, whereas Sony uses Ustream, and they showed how you use the Kinect to start a stream or record footage, which, saying Xbox start stream or whatever, that God knows that's so much easier than reaching 1/8 of an inch to the right with your thumb and hitting the share button. That's just so much more convenient and easy. By not commenting at all on any of the controversial stuff that's been going on with Microsoft, they confirmed all of it. The fact that they canceled all of their post-show conferences, none of the media getting to ask the probing questions, they've pretty much confirmed everything. The closest they came was saying that you can share your games with your family members, up to 10 family members. Well, goddamn, thanks for being so innovative, Microsoft. Thanks for pointing out what you consider a feature that's been a mainstay of console gaming since the Fairchild Channel F 37 fucking years ago. Kudos to you. Have a goddamn cookie. They did show some games. Now, they didn't show the 15 exclusives with 8 being new IP that they talked about. You'll notice they said partnering. We're partnering with studios. And sometimes it's not even a studio that they've bought or anything like that. 9 times out of 10, it's some big conglomerate like Capcom that comes along with a game concept and they're like, hey, here's $50 million. Now, sign on the dotted line. You're only going to make it for Xbox One. Or you're only going to make it for so long. Hello, Mass Effect. I'm playing Mass Effect on my PS3 right now. What's that tell you? Even a game that's published by Microsoft can and will, with the conditions being right, show up on the competing console. So again, in regards to Dead Rising 3, could take it or leave it. If it does show up, hurrah. But they did show games, okay? They didn't bury Sony or kill Sony or all this shit that they said they were going to do. Again, most of what they showed was multi-plat stuff. and it seemed like they were getting things back at least to where the fans were going to accept all this stuff. Like, they showed enough stuff to where people were going to start to forget about all the negative stuff that they've done so far, all the ways that they've found to creatively fuck themselves over the last several weeks. And then they announced the price, $499.99, and you hear a studio of golf claps, quietly polite applause. Those were the employees saying, "Oh, this isn't really going the way we hoped. Let's try to at least get some applause up there for them so we can keep our jobs." It was like a lead weight that fell over that whole audience. I mean, you could just sense the spark being sucked right out of Xbox fans in that audience. It was like a funeral dirge that just spread right across that crowd. But when they announced that price, I knew it was a fail. This is an economy that's still in recovery, and you're wanting average gamers, some of these college students, that you expect them to pay $499. I mean, it was bad enough when Sony did it. You didn't learn anything from your mistakes. I mean, at least with Sony, you were getting essentially a Blu-ray drive for half price. So there was some justification for the price tag. But there's, you know, Blu-ray is established now. You can go get a Blu-ray drive for under $100. What's the justification for the $500 price tag? Is it for all the R&D, for that cable shit software that you shoved in there? Microsoft has money to burn. They have money to toss at developers. $1 billion to toss at developers to con them into making exclusive games that's going to cut their audience in half. But they can't sell the system at a loss? First off with Sony. Okay, so they started off talking about the PS3 and the PS Vita. And they showed Killzone Mercenaries, which looks fucking phenomenal. It's the best first-person shooter on a handheld I've ever seen. They showed The Walking Dead on PS Vita, which that was a pretty cool series on PSN, so that might be something that I'll want to pick up for the Vita. They showed Batman Arkham Origins for the PS3. We already knew that was coming. They showed The Last of Us. Obviously, we already knew that was coming. They talked about Grand Theft Auto 5. They showed this $300 bundle. I wasn't all that excited about it because I already have 2 PS3s in the house. Eventually I'm going to buy the Super Slim and then I'll have 3 of them in the house. I'll probably get Grand Theft Auto 5. I'm going to hold off though to see if they do end up porting it up to the PS4. Then they brought out this mush-mouth stuttering moron who was president of something or other. It was obvious that he was not used to being on stage. It's also obvious that he's not used to looking at a teleprompter. He stuttered through the whole thing talking about Sony music, Sony movies, but at least it wasn't what Microsoft did with Xbox One TV. You know, it was like 10 minutes of a waste and then it was over and they shoot him off stage and they moved on. Oh, and they mentioned that Redbox Instant was coming. Why that had to be mentioned on stage, I have no idea. Ooh, 7,000 movies available for instant viewing. What the fuck? Netflix has way more than that. Okay, so then they showed the PS4, right? To me, you know what it looks like? It looks like that second generation new Hop Hog DVR. It looks like a cross between that and the PS2 Slim kind of merged together. And it's obvious that they've kind of made some design changes to it since they showed that little teaser, because that little teaser with all the blurred imagery, it clearly showed some chrome on that design, but the unit that they showed at E3 had no chrome on it. Now, if you remember, back when the PS3 originally came out, when you had the 60 gigger and you had the 20 gigger, the 60 gigger had chrome stuff all over it, and the 20 gigger did not. So I'm wondering if maybe there is going to be multiple SKUs for this thing, or it was just like pictures of a very early prototype of the casing. I wasn't offended by the design. It's not my favorite design, but I think it looks a hell of a lot better than the Xbox One at any case. It's definitely going to take up less space on my entertainment shelf. I do kind of wonder if that little blue streak that goes through the middle of it lights up like in the teaser though, and kind of moves back and forth Knight Rider style. I am curious about that. So then they showed the 4 exclusives that they've already shown. They showed Knack, they showed Killzone, they showed Infamous Second Son, and they showed Drive Club. Fantastic. They showed us the games that they've already shown, but they showed more of it, and they showed more of the gameplay. The gameplay for Infamous I'm very happy about because it looks a lot like traditional Infamous gameplay. I was afraid that they were going to change things around a lot with his different powers that he has, but if you watch the trailer and you watch the gameplay, he's shooting fireballs out of his hands just like Cole shot lightning balls out of his hands, and he's swinging weapons just like Cole did in Infamous 2. So I was happy that it looks like traditionally they're going to keep a lot of the gameplay mechanics of the first two. I'm not that hot on Drive Club again. I'm not into simulation racers. But Killzone I'm excited about, and I like platformers, so Knack looks interesting to me, so I'll probably be picking that one up too. Then you had The Order 1886. Didn't show any gameplay, although just like with Microsoft, it was in-game footage of a cutscene. Cutscene rendered in-game. It looked damn good for in-game. It was very, very well done. The graphics looked fantastic. It looked like something I would expect to see from a next-gen launch title. And I'm excited by the fact that it's done by Ready at Dawn along with help from Sony Santa Monica. God of War Chains of Olympus, God of War Ghosts of Sparta. I love those games. I bought them on the collections and I played them again on PS3. Still loved them. Fantastic game. So I'm excited to see what they do with a big next-gen title instead of playing a game on a portable. I'm excited for that. Then they really showed the difference between Sony's philosophy on indies and Microsoft, because they just showed a plethora of indie games, some of which, you know, look like something I wouldn't give a rat's ass about, like the Octodad. I mean, Octodad looks like a playable demo that was done as a joke, and you want me to pay for it? I don't think so. But some of it I was really excited for, especially the one from the guys that created Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. That was one of my favorite downloadable games for the PS3. I didn't give a shit for the movie all that much, but I loved the game because it felt so retro and 8-bit. And this is more, it looked like more of almost a Contra style, their attempt at doing a Contra style game, and it looked a hell of a lot of fun. So I'm excited for that one. And there was some other stuff in those indies that looked like something I would be interested in, but mainly it was that one that really caught my eye. And I can't remember the name of it right now, and I don't feel like looking it up, but you guys know which one I'm talking about. It looked pretty fucking awesome. I'm excited to play that one. As you guys know, I have over 140. It's not as big as Retro's collection, but I've got over 140 downloadable games. I love downloadable games. I love the little arcade games and all that kind of stuff, and anything that's different like Journey, that kind of thing. Something that gives me something unique and different to play. So I'm excited to see all the different independent games that they pull in. I'm really excited to see that. Then you had Square Enix. They've ditched the Final Fantasy Versus 13 and they've changed it to Final Fantasy 15. I am assuming that this is to kind of wash away the skank from being related to the Final Fantasy 13 series, mixed with possibly some kind of a contractual thing with Sony where Final Fantasy Versus 13 was signed to be a PS3 exclusive, and so they changed the name of it, make it a different game so that they can make it multiplat. I'm assuming it's a mixture of those two things, but it's also been announced for the Xbox One. But we already know historically that Square Enix is not exactly embraced by the Xbox community. The PS3 version of Final Fantasy 13 buried the Xbox version in sales, and I don't foresee that to change with this game. It might be available for both systems, but as far as who the majority of people will be playing it, it'll still be a PlayStation game that just happened to have been ported to Xbox. And especially with Kingdom Hearts 3, honestly, I think it would have been a better fit for Square Enix to just fuck off the Xbox One and port it to the Wii U. Nintendo fans have been playing Kingdom Hearts games for years. So I think it would have been a better fit for the Wii U than to put it on Xbox One. I don't think anybody, hardly at all, is going to buy it on Xbox One. I think it'll sell like hotcakes on PS4, but I really, really, really do not see it being a massive seller on Xbox One. I could be wrong, but judging by how well or how not well the Square Enix games have been embraced on the 360, I don't think it's too much of a stretch for me to say that it's not going to be a massive seller on that system. Then there was the Quantic Dream Dark Sorcerer demo. It amazes me that I keep seeing these news stories on all these gaming sites, like Screw Attack, for example, saying, here's the demo to Quantic Dream's new game, Dark Sorcerer. They never said it was a game demo. They said it was a tech demo. Tech demos historically don't really turn out to be games most of the time. Sometimes yes, but most of the time no. They're there to show off their technology, and then you'll see components of it in the games that they bring out. Like Heavy Rain. Heavy Rain had pieces of a casting call tech demo that Quantum Dreams did, but that demo was not part of Heavy Rain. They did that Android demo from a year ago. You don't see that game lying around anywhere on the PS3 from Quantic Dreams, do you? No. They put Beyond Two Souls. It has nothing to do with that tech demo. So, you know, do I expect there to be some game coming out about a 80-something-year-old actor that's pretending to be a wizard for some shit-ass movie? No, I don't suspect that to be a game that comes out at all. And the dialogue was too corny for it to be a serious fantasy game. So unless they're planning to bring out some kind of a Tim Schafer-inspired, fucked-up dark comedy rip-off parody of the fantasy genre, I don't see that being an actual game. And the fact that people are just assuming it is going to be one when they have a history of making tech demos that never get put into games strikes me as pretty fucking funny. And then they, for some reason, out of the blue, they show NBA 2K14. You know, they didn't really show any other sports games, didn't even touch on the EA ones really. I think there might have been a couple of clips in the video shown at the beginning of the conference, but they didn't really touch on that at all. They didn't even touch on their own sports franchises like MLB The Show or Sony's NBA game. They didn't even focus on any of that. They bring this one up, and call me crazy, but that didn't look next gen to me at all. That was like the lower end of horrible Uncanny Valley. You know, looked like something that was brought to life in Silent Hill. Horror, disgusting, you know, screaming mouth, pod person from Invaders of the Body Snatchers, crazy, nightmarish shit. You know, I didn't need to see LeBron James going, oh! I didn't need to see that. And then Jack Tretton comes out and he drops the big bombs of their conference. No DRM that isn't already on the PS3. No restriction on selling used games. You can trade with your friends, you can loan them to your friends, you can give them away as gifts. It's as easy as, here, take this, you're welcome. That's all there is to it. None of this other bullshit that Microsoft has. Does Sony need to really be congratulated about that? Is that Sony really saving their gamers? No, because it's the same shit that they offered in the last generation. The only kind of protection they had was from some of their own games, and the third party being online access vouchers. And that's the same shit they're going to have here. None of this draconian Big Brother bullshit that Microsoft's going to have. Sony, I don't really think they should be, you know, held up aloft as the saviors of gaming for that, because they're just doing what's right. And even so, you know, are they really doing it because it's what's right, or are they just doing it to give the big middle finger to Microsoft? Who knows? Who cares? All it means is that it's going to be the preferable platform to anyone with a brain. And especially for you guys out there that are collectors. I want you to think about it. You guys that like to collect games like me, think about it. You're not buying an actual physical game even though you're getting a disc. You're getting a license on a disc that requires you to be online to play it. When the Xbox One servers take Xbox One offline and replace it with whatever's coming out after, you won't be able to play those games. Hence, their value as a collectible item is going to go, it's going to be worthless. It's like trying to get value from a DivX disc. That's what Xbox One is. It's the fucking DivX of game systems. If you guys don't know what DivX is, go to Wikipedia and look it up. That's exactly what the Xbox One is. It's the DivX of game consoles. And it's a piece of shit. And so, yes, I am glad that Sony did not go down that road and they're sticking to their guns. How third-party developers are going to react to that, I don't know. Is that going to make it to where they're going to say, oh, well, you want them to be able to sell our game and cost us money used, huh? Well, we'll just make it an Xbox console exclusive. Do I see that happening? I don't think the companies are going to take the risk because it's going to cut their potential profit margin in half. People were selling them used anyway. Either they're going to lose money from games being sold used, or they're going to lose money by only having it on Xbox, especially if the Xbox doesn't take off, which right now, at least in the short term, it doesn't look like it is. So I think Sony made the right choice. I think it was a smart move, and I think they really fucking trolled the shit out of Xbox and out of Microsoft with it. I think they did it just the right way. It was perfect, and obviously the audience was into it. It got the biggest pops of the night. It was obvious that people were concerned about that. And then the price. They undercut them by $100. The system does not come with the Eye. So I guess that's where some of it comes from. You know, the Xbox One has to have the Kinect, so you've got that in there. So whatever's on the inside of the systems are apparently quite similar, but because you have to buy the Eye separate with the PS4, which even though it only retails for $59 anyway, so there's still a $40 gap there. But regardless, $399, $100 cheaper, by not including a peripheral that no real gamer gives a rat's ass fuck about anyway. Smart move, Sony. Smart move. The only downside that I saw from that conference, there were two things. One, there was a lot of exclusives that have been announced for that system that are going to be launch titles that they didn't actually show on the stage. They had demos of some of the stuff on the floor, but they didn't show them on the stage. And I'm wondering why. Now, of course, DC Universe Online's not a new game. It's been on PS3 for a while. But there's other stuff that's being announced for it that hasn't been on a console, that's going to be new and exclusive only to PS4, and they didn't show any of that on the stage. They left it on the show floor. Why they did that, I don't know. I know Sony likes to keep secrets and surprises. You didn't see anything from Naughty Dog, but historically Naughty Dog puts out a new game about every 2 years, and they've split themselves into two groups. So the last time an Uncharted game came out was 2 years ago, this coming November. Are they holding a big surprise for a reveal of that? I don't think so. I think it'll come out probably November of 2014, but I do foresee a new Uncharted coming out, and they'll probably put it right up against Halo 5 to compete, or the week before to try to steal some of Halo 5's thunder. Also, you didn't see anything new from Media Molecule outside of the new game for the Vita, the Tearaway, which looked interesting. So you have that to look forward to. Level 5, which is they're independent of Sony, but they're known for making Sony exclusive JRPGs. You know, they did the Dark Cloud series, they did Rogue Galaxy, they did White Knight Chronicles 1 and 2, and they did the most recent release, Ni no Kuni. You haven't heard anything out of them. I suspect that they're working on something because they've put out something on every console from at least the PS2 up. So I suspect you'll see something new there. Basically, Sony trumped Microsoft in every respect. Microsoft said that they were going to have 15 exclusives in the first year, with 8 of them being new IP. By the time the conference started, he had changed that from 15 to 13. And Sony comes out and says, we're going to have, it was either 40 or 30. They said they were going to have 40 exclusive games, and 20 of them would be first party, and 12 of them would be new IPs. Now, they didn't specify how much of that was going to be retail and how much of it was going to be downloadable, as far as like PSN games and stuff like that. But that's a strong amount of exclusive content in a 12-month period. So I'm very excited for the PS4, and right after the conference they announced that it was going to be available for pre-order on Amazon, and I went ahead and I pre-ordered that shit. And I went and just in case pre-ordered one at GameStop too, in case I decided I wanted to buy 2 at once. I have not, as of this date, pre-ordered the Xbox One. I just didn't see anything that I wanted for it that's coming in the first year. I will wait till it's a year old, and then I'll reevaluate. Finally, you have the Wii U. Now, as you know, I made a video called Don't Buy This Shit, the Wii U. And I stand by that video. I still don't believe that that system is worth $349. I think they should have bit the bullet and gave it a price drop and announced it right there at that conference, and that the fact that they didn't is a mistake. I mean, they should have learned from what happened with the 3DS. No one was buying the 3DS. They slashed the price of the 3DS. They bring out new games. All of a sudden, it's a mega hit. Why didn't they do it with the Wii U? They brought more games, but they didn't slash the price. Why? They have money in the bank to spare. Why? Hell, the PS4 is only $50 more. And look at some of the shit that they showed. My God. The Wii U didn't have anything in that conference that compared to the graphic fidelity of what was shown at either the PS3 or the Xbox conference. And I hated the Xbox conference. That's not to say that Nintendo didn't show good games. They showed some games that I will be purchasing. But they didn't show anything that made me say, oh my God, that's next gen. They didn't show a single one that made me do that. First of all, they had Super Mario World 3D, or Super Mario 3D World, or however they've got it lined up. So it's a multiplayer, up-ported sequel of sorts to the 3DS game. I wanted Mario Galaxy 3. That's what I wanted. You know, I'm not a huge fan of Mario in 3D. My heart still belongs to the 2D stuff. I feel that's my preferred method to play Mario, even though the 2D ones have been getting stale too. But it looked interesting. The graphics looked good for it being a Wii U title. It was nice and colorful. The 1080p looked nice. I liked the fact that it called back. It had kind of a bit of nostalgia moment there by having Toad and Peach in there, and having her little floating ability from Super Mario Bros. 2. I thought that was a nice touch, for us old guys. But overall, I just didn't see enough of it to get excited about it. Maybe after I play a demo, it might appeal to me more. I've got Super Mario Land 3D on the 3DS, and what Super Mario Land felt like to me was a dumbed down Mario Galaxy without the Galaxy. It had some of the same elements from Mario Galaxy, but it didn't have the Galaxy stuff in it. So it just, I don't know. I haven't made up my mind on it. It didn't sell me. It didn't sell me on it. Mario Kart 8. This is another one that I'm not overly excited about, but it's not because the game looked bad. I thought the game looked really good. I think graphics-wise, it doesn't look any better than the kart games that we've had from this generation. It looked better than Mod Nation Racers, but that ain't saying a whole lot. I don't think it really looked any better than the newest Sonic All-Star Racing game. It's probably more fun than Sonic All-Stars, but graphically I don't think it looked any better. I like the fact that they've kind of thrown in the whole Mario Galaxy anti-gravity type bit. That was interesting. It looks like it would be a fun party game, but I'm just not much. I've never been that huge on the kart style racers. It's just never really appealed to me. I mean, they got done to death and cloned to death so much from the point that Mario Kart came out on the Super Nintendo that I just really couldn't get into it. It just never super appealed to me. I'll say it before and I'll say it again. There's only one racer this generation that really got its hooks into me, and that was Burnout Paradise. I have an unabashed, sadistic, perverted love for that game. I put untold amount of hours into it. I still play it to this day, and that's for a long time for me to be playing one game. It was just the total package racing game for me because I love that arcadey type feel, but I'm just not really into the whole kart style with the weapons and all that. There was a time where I played it, where I'd play it with friends and bring them over, and we'd play it on the N64. And it's just I don't know. It just doesn't appeal to me anymore. It looks like a great game, definitely the best one of the series from what I can see of it, but it's just not a series that still holds any value for me. I'm sure 8th will like it because he loved Little Big Planet karting, and he was big on Mario Kart on the Wii. So I'm sure he'll want it, and I'll get it for him, and I'll play it with him. But it's not a deal maker for me whatsoever. World of Keflings. Who gives a fuck? It's you know, a continuation of a series on the 360 that no one gave a rat's ass about, and certainly no one's going to give a rat's ass about it on the Wii U. You had Wii Party U. I really don't give a shit about that party series. You know, if I'm going to buy a party game, it'll be Mario Party. I don't want to play a shitty clone of Mario Party where I play with my fucking Mii. If I've got to play a party game, give me Mario Party. Fuck Party U. Fuck Wii Party U. Don't give a rat's ass about that game. Fuck it. Fuck it in its shriveled Japanese ass. I don't want to play that game. They showed several games for the eShop that I haven't heard of, but some of them looked intriguing. Of course, they showed the remake of DuckTales, but I'll be buying it on the PlayStation. I won't be buying it on the Wii U. I have the original DuckTales right up there on that shelf. I don't need it on another Nintendo system. I want to play it on my PlayStation, so that's where I'll be buying it. They showed the Dungeons & Dragons arcade game from way back being re-released. I will be buying it if it comes out on PlayStation. It's been mentioned to be a multi-plat, so I have no reason to suspect that it won't show up on PlayStation. So that's where I'll be buying that one too. And yes, trophies do come into that. You know, I think that Nintendo has really shot themselves in the foot by not including that kind of thing, because there's so many people out there that enjoy earning them. It extends the life of the game. I don't pay attention to trophies at all when I first play a game. I play it just to play it and finish the game. And then, if it's a game that I really liked, I go back in and I continue to play it to earn those trophies. And that's something that would, not only does it extend the life of the game, but it puts off a person selling the game. Wind Waker Remake, don't give a shit about it really. I've got the original on GameCube, enough said. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I liked the previous one on the Wii. This was not what I wanted to see from Retro Studios. I wanted to see another Metroid, so it is what it is. I could live with it or without it. They showed Bayonetta 2, but they didn't show enough of it for me to really make a call on it one way or the other. It makes no sense to me that the fact that they cut her hair, but all of her powers were based on her hair. Not sure how that's going to work. And they didn't really show enough of it graphics-wise for me to determine whether or not it really looked any better than the 360 version, aside from probably a better frame rate. Super Smash Bros. Looked awesome for a Super Smash Bros. Game, but again, it's not a series that I'm super big on. The only fighting series that I really give a shit about is Soul Calibur. I really couldn't give a rat's ass about any other fighting series. Just saying the honest truth. Yoshi's Island for 3DS looked fun, but I'd rather have that on Wii U than the shitty Yoshi's Yarn bullshit that they're going to be putting on Wii U. Fuck that game. I didn't give a rat's ass for Kirby's Epic Yarn. Don't give a shit about Yoshi. I'd rather have the 3DS game on the Wii U. Same with the Zelda game. A Link Between Worlds. I would rather have that upgraded graphics-wise and put on Wii U than whatever 3D piece of shit that they're going to be bringing out, because they're fun games, the 3D games, but they don't feel like Zelda to me. That game feels like Zelda to me for obvious reasons. Favorite Zelda game of all time. So that's my feeling on that. The X game from Monolith looks amazing, but again, it looks like it's a game that's released between gens, better than the current gen, but not as good as the stuff the other companies were showing. So graphics-wise, it's going to be kind of a mixed bag, but I love Xenoblade Saga, so I'm excited to play it. You hear me? That will be a first-day buy for me. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying it doesn't look as good graphically as some of the other shit that I've seen so far of the next gen. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. It looks, to me, not a whole lot better than what was in Final Fantasy 13-2, graphics-wise. Finally, Mario and Luigi Dream Team. There's another game that I would prefer to see on the Wii U instead of the 3DS. So, overall, the Nintendo one was good. I thought it could be better. The reason I'm not excited for the Wii U conference is because it's just more of the same shit. It's the same exclusives, more or less, that they've been putting out on the systems for years. If Nintendo came out and said, we're giving you a next generation of this, I'd love my Wii U. You know, this is the kind of stuff that I want to see, and brand new IPs, not just the same old shit over and over again. So, bottom line, who won E3 to me? I would say that overall it was sort of kind of a tie between Sony and Nintendo. Although overall I think Sony showed a much more potential for future stuff. I'm really excited about it. Sort of excited about some of the stuff for Wii U, particularly X. Microsoft was a fail, and you Xbox should be ashamed of yourself for damage controlling and defending that fucking shit. And I'm tired, my throat's getting hoarse, so I'm calling it a night. This is 7th.